Hello my lovelies, my name is Rosie May, and today I would love to discuss with you my process when approaching character design and some helpful tricks and hints that might be helpful for some of you. I love character design a bunch. It's very fun, rewarding, and keeps the creative juices flowing. So, without further ado, here are my top 3 tricks and hints to creating a successful character design. The first thing to do is research. You want to be able to familiarize yourself with the character as much as possible. In addition to this, you want to be able to collect references and context for the aesthetics you'd like to implement. This is like the most important step when it comes to creating character design, is to collect your references. One of the things that I do, especially when redesigning characters, is I want to be able to understand the characters as fully as possible. So I'll do maybe a little bit of lore searching, possibly watching or experiencing the show or the game the characters are from, and just sort of understanding the context for what they exist in. One of the other things that I do, especially when I'm getting new outfits and things that I would love to explore in a particular design, is I'll create Pinterest boards. And this helps me just sort of visualize and collect sort of references to look back on later when I'm going through the creative process. I know that when I do graphic design work, one of the important things to do as a designer is to create what's called a mood board, which is I'll create a sort of collage of images just to evoke the feeling and possibly stylistic elements of the particular logo or illustration that the client is looking for, just to sort of be able to say, here's the direction I can go, now imagine if we twisted it this way for your particular project. It's the same when approaching character design. You want to be able to have those elements all together, so it's easier for you as an artist to sort of reinterpret the elements in a more aesthetically pleasing way later on. So right now on screen is actually my Sailor Mars piece. I should have mentioned that a little earlier, but you know, that's how it works. So I've been working on redesigning the Sailor Senshi from the original 90s anime for a bit now into steampunk dieselpunk aesthetically pleasing outfits, since I consider myself a dieselpunk artist. It's been a lot of fun. Redesigning pre-existing characters by giving them new outfits is a good way to flex character design muscles, and I sincerely recommend it. I also do similar things with Pokemon on occasion, so if you want to see all my redesigns and some original characters, well, you know what to do. Just follow along, I guess. Okay, so the second thing to do is to figure out what elements are the most important to keep consistent with the character and how to convey them properly while also putting your own twist on them. In this case, I knew I wanted to keep Rei's more traditional Japanese background integrated into her outfit design while also giving it a nice sort of Western European world twist, as steampunk dieselpunk is more traditionally Western in culture. In the show, Rei is a shrine maiden working at her grandfather's shrine, and a lot of her attacks are spirit-based because she's the most spiritually gifted of the entire Sailor Senshi. So when I was approaching this design, I knew I wanted to give her a beautiful kimono as just a way to pay homage to her particular background. The other typical elements of her design that I figured would be the most important to keep consistent from her original Sailor Senshi outfit to this particular design would be her long flowing purple, like the dark purple, dark hair, the red short skirt, her earrings, and the high heels. And I figured that if I strayed too far from these elements, I'd probably lose the essence of her character. That brings us to the third element of good character design, twisting elements into something new. When you think steampunk dieselpunk, the images that come to mind are probably all clockwork based, with tight leather corsets and top hats. Dieselpunk is set in World War eras, Um, and they have similar iconic cliches that are primarily militaristic in design. So then one of the jobs is to figure out how to take the aesthetics from these eras without slipping into something that's clumsily executed or cliche in design. Meaning just falling into the same rhymes and rhythms of what we expect when we're talking about specific genres of fashion. One of the things that I found to be the most successful and fun is to just keep the feeling of these genres intact by researching different fashions from those decades and combining them with my favorite unique elements from real-world outfits, which makes the outcome more realistic and iconic. So what I did for Ray's piece was I decided to go a more Lolita-based route with her outfit. Lolita is a fashion movement in Japan that is supposed to help reject the patriarchy and restrictive feminine roles by celebrating youth and femininity to the most that you can do. It's also inspired by a lot of Victorian fashion, even like the more traditionally Japanese looking outfits. So I figured that this would be the best way to combine both the 1940s aspect of diesel punk with the Japanese inspired kimono. So I gave her kimono ruffles and I gave her a ruffled skirt to go underneath of it. I love ruffles a bunch when they're used properly, like as accents. They can be used to invoke a nice vintage feeling to the entire outfit. I also decided to look up some beautiful 1940s shoes to sort of reinvent her heels to help make the outfit feel a bit more authentic. The hardest thing to figure out how to play with was her hair. I knew I wanted to keep her nice, beautiful, flowing hair pretty much the same as it was in the anime, but I knew if I just left it down and normal, then it wouldn't be pulling the outfit as far as it could be going. If I put it up, though, she'd become unrecognizable in this new getup, and then you wouldn't be able to tell who she is as a character unless you were to look at the title. So I needed to figure out ways to compromise the traditional style with this new getup. So the solution then that I figured out was to give her some nice victory rolls at the top of her head, like sort of big, beautiful, exaggerated victory rolls at the top of her hair, because then she could wear the rest of her hair down. So finally, my last tip is to find ways to tie the design together through repeated themes. During the beginning of the video, you probably noticed I was using a lot of the same colors as the traditional 90s palette, minus the dark navy of the kimono. Because I tend to design more complicated outfits, the best thing that I figured that I would share, it's actually one of my secrets that I love to do, is to repeat the same basic colors throughout the design. Not only does repetition create harmony in the piece, it can also be used to guide the eye throughout the entire piece. With outfits, it creates echoes of certain stylistic aesthetic choices, and it just looks really, really good. So the main thing that I do is I find ways to repeat colors, and the main color of this piece is this bright, bold red. Because it's the main color element, if it was used in an overpowering way, it could easily hurt the eyes and clash with the violence of goals used in the particular palette. So when I was working on the piece, I noticed that the violet and the reds are the same vibrancy, and the gold is the accent color. So I needed to figure out a way to use them without hurting the eyes, which is why I put her into the dark navy kimono. It just helps create a more pleasant contrast with the bright colors. White, that is the main sort of leotard piece of the Sailor Senshi outfit, is just too bright for this particular reinterpretation. So to tie the look together, I also decided to give her red sparks decorating her kimono, just to repeat the red throughout the piece as much as possible, just using it as sort of an accent and framing piece. It also pays homage to the fact that Rei's Sailor Mercury attacks are primarily fire-inspired. That is my piece, and I had a lot of fun. I'm hoping I could get one Sailor Senshi designed per month, if not 2 a month, but I think that would be a little much. But you never know. If you are interested in following this particular series or seeing any more of what I do illustration-wise, you can find me pretty much everywhere on the internet. I think that that's it for today. The most important thing you can do as a designer is to have fun. Character design is a bunch of fun, and you get to create something that's your entire vision. And I think that that's a beautiful thing for us as creators to be able to do, is to think, I want this, but then I also want to combine it with this thing. And you don't have to ask anyone's permission in order to create something new. It's just at your leisure. So with that said, that is everything for today. I hope you enjoyed watching my process. If you liked this illustration, you can buy it from my Redbubble store. I have a link down in the description where you can find it. And you can find me anywhere on my social medias. The handle is Rosie May. That's ROSEY MAE. Pretty much everywhere. Like, seriously, everywhere. I hope you join me again in the next video and that your life turns up roses. Bye!